What if a single decision made in Washington, D.C. could instantly change how gun laws work across the entire United States? Recently, the Supreme Court issued a powerful 7-1 decision that every gun owner needs to understand. Legal experts say this ruling could influence how states regulate firearms, how courts interpret the Second Amendment, and what rights citizens may have when it comes to carrying a gun. But here's the surprising part. Many people are hearing about this ruling without fully understanding what it actually means. And that confusion can lead to serious misunderstandings about the law. So in today's video, we're breaking down what the Supreme Court decided, why the vote was 7-1, and what this could mean for gun owners across America. And before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because we break down important legal decisions and real-world laws that most people never hear explained clearly. Now, let's get into it. The case that reached the Supreme Court. Every major Supreme Court ruling begins with a conflict. In this case, the issue centered around how states regulate firearm rights under the Second Amendment. Some states have very strict requirements for carrying firearms in public. In certain places, people were required to prove a special reason before being allowed to carry a concealed handgun outside their home. Supporters of these rules argued that they helped improve public safety. But critics said those restrictions made it extremely difficult for ordinary citizens to exercise what they believed was a constitutional right. Eventually, the disagreement made its way through lower courts and finally reached the Supreme Court of the United States. And that's when the justices stepped in to decide how the Constitution should be interpreted. The 7-1 decision. When the Supreme Court finally announced its decision, the vote surprised many observers across the United States. 7 justices supported the ruling, while 1 justice strongly dissented. That margin of agreement immediately captured national attention and legal debate. Such a decisive vote often signals the court views issues seriously. Constitutional questions reaching the Supreme Court rarely receive such clarity. Legal analysts quickly began discussing the broader meaning behind the ruling. The majority opinion focused heavily on the Second Amendment's constitutional protections. This amendment protects the right of people to keep arms. For decades, courts have debated the scope of this protection. Some rulings interpreted the amendment narrowly, others interpreted it broadly. Because of that history, every Supreme Court decision becomes extremely important. Judges, lawyers, and scholars study every sentence within majority opinions. According to the court's reasoning, firearm regulations require careful constitutional review. The justices explained that rights listed within the Constitution deserve protection. Government regulations cannot conflict with clearly recognized constitutional freedoms. Courts therefore must analyze firearm restrictions with careful historical understanding. This process often involves reviewing laws from early American history. Historical tradition plays a central role in constitutional interpretation debates. The ruling emphasized that historical traditions help guide modern legal decisions. Judges frequently look to past practices when interpreting constitutional rights. If similar regulations rarely existed historically, courts may question them. This historical analysis has become increasingly influential in constitutional cases. Legal experts say the court highlighted this principle very clearly. For many scholars, this ruling may shape future legal arguments. Attorneys challenging firearm regulations will likely reference this decision frequently. Lower courts across America may review gun laws differently now. Some existing regulations could face new legal challenges soon. Other laws may remain unchanged if they meet constitutional standards. Ultimately, the decision shows how powerful Supreme Court rulings can be. A single case can influence legal interpretation across the nation. Citizens, lawmakers, and courts must pay attention to such rulings, because constitutional decisions often shape the legal landscape for decades. Why this ruling matters. Supreme Court decisions rarely affect only one state or case. Instead, they often establish legal precedents influencing courts nationwide. These precedents guide how judges interpret similar laws across America. Because of this, even one ruling can reshape legal understanding. After this ruling, legal experts immediately began analyzing potential impacts. Discussions focused on how firearm regulations might change across states. Some experts believe certain restrictions could face serious legal challenges. They argue courts may reconsider laws under updated constitutional interpretations. Others, however, believe states will still maintain regulatory authority. They argue safety regulations can exist within constitutional legal boundaries. As long as laws follow constitutional principles, they may remain valid. This balance between rights and regulation continues to be debated widely. Different states may respond to the ruling in different ways. Some may revise laws to align with the court's reasoning. Others may defend existing rules through new legal arguments. This creates an evolving legal landscape across the United States. In other words, the national conversation around gun laws continues. The debate involves lawmakers, courts, and citizens across the country. Public safety concerns and constitutional rights remain central issues. Finding balance between them is an ongoing legal challenge. But one thing remains clear after this Supreme Court decision. When the court speaks, its influence extends far beyond one case. Its rulings shape how laws are interpreted throughout the nation. And their impact can be felt across the entire country. What gun owners should understand. So what is the most important takeaway from this decision? This question is now being asked across the entire country. Many people are trying to understand what this ruling means. First, gun laws in the United States are always evolving. They change through court decisions, legislation, and legal challenges. No single law remains completely fixed forever in interpretation. Courts often revisit earlier rulings to clarify constitutional meaning. Because of this, understanding current laws becomes extremely important. What is legal today may be interpreted differently in future cases. This is why staying updated on legal developments truly matters. Second, knowing firearm regulations in your own state is essential. Each state has different rules regarding possession and carrying firearms. Local laws can vary significantly even between neighboring states nearby. Ignoring these differences can sometimes create serious legal complications. Even with Supreme Court guidance, local procedures still play roles. State authorities continue enforcing laws within constitutional legal boundaries. This creates a balance between national rulings and local enforcement. And finally, responsible gun ownership involves more than basic rights. It includes knowledge, awareness, and understanding legal responsibilities clearly. Being informed helps individuals avoid unnecessary legal misunderstandings later. Because sometimes a single Supreme Court decision has wide impact. It can influence how millions interpret their constitutional rights nationwide. And it may reshape legal understanding for many years ahead.